Hey everyone, so it might seem like sometimes Quiptus and Froggy Hops aren't listening to us when it comes to update. We've been asking for school and pets forever now and they don't seem to come. However, we have gotten quite a few updates in between asking that and it still hasn't happened. Let's get into the reason why. So a lot goes into preparing an update, and it's not just having a random idea and doing random things. Like for example with the school, I'm going to use the most common example for this one, or this time at least. And the reason why there is no school yet is because it takes time to plan out. Let me get into that. So a school is just a building, and a building would just be boring. So we have to plan out a lot of stuff, like what goes into a school, what do we want to add with the school, do we add jobs, how do we add jobs, how does it work? And it's not as simple as just doing that. It's not as simple as just adding that. A lot of thinking has to go in it to keep it interesting, keep people coming back to it. And it's not just adding a building or a random job that just halfly works. It's definitely a lot to take into consideration. Also with schools comes new accessories, for example blackboards and new lights and maybe new doors and stuff like that, and we don't have that just yet. So that means that those items have to be made as well, so it takes a lot longer for an idea to cook or to be made into something viable than just having the idea and adding that. Because if a school was just added without any addition, people would be like, well, that's kind of disappointing, isn't it? And that's what Queptus and Froggy don't want. Same with pets. They probably don't want just pets that follow you around everywhere, that are just static things that, I don't know, do nothing. They probably want pets to be something special and something that people will actually use and not just look at it once and be like, oh, that's nice, but I'm not going to be using that. And so it does take a lot of time and a lot of new systems to be added into the game. So if we get a really small update, for example the prison update, an entirely new system was added to the game as well, so that took a lot of time out of the other update stuff. So it's not just the stuff that we see when there is an update, but usually a bunch more stuff was made as well. Some things never used, some things to be used in a few years, but they definitely want to have updates planned out, make it fitting, so that when an update drops you don't get some random items that don't match with each other or don't mix with each other, and updates have to follow a certain theme. And so in the meanwhile we did get babies, and we did get some baby stuff, but it's by far not enough to, for example, make a toddler school, make a daycare. And I feel like they want to add that in first before making big changes or doing a map overhaul or something like that. And it's definitely something to keep in mind, that updates have to have a certain theme, because that's why sometimes it seems like we do get very little stuff, but usually more stuff was made during that time which is planned for other updates. So it seems like we're getting very little and they don't seem to care, but they actually do listen to us and make stuff. It's just hard to choose when to drop it for them, and that's something they really want to follow. And a lot of games that don't follow that usually crash way earlier because there's no coherence to the game and people just get bored because they get half-baked updates with stuff that does not work or stuff that they won't use anymore or don't see a use for. And that's what Queptus and Froggy do want to avoid. Adding random stuff that people don't really see a use for will not be added without having other stuff to help explain it or help work with it. For example, the latest update had the basic shapes. We were all a little bit confused, but then we found out that we could also resize carpets and other stuff, and it had to do with the resizing. So the basic shapes wasn't actually the main focus of this update. It was actually the resizing tool, which was a lot of work to implement. And so usually when an update drops, it seems like they aren't listening, but they definitely are. And I just wanted to have that pointed out. I'm still waiting for some updates as well. I'm very excited to still see a map revamp because I feel like all of us just got collectively bored of the map. And a lot of people still even don't come back to the game because it is so boring. We also still need like a job overhaul, but these are really big updates and request a lot of coding. And Queptus still needs to sleep sometimes, sadly. Definitely a lot of things are still planned for the future. They are still motivated to do stuff, even though it might seem like when smaller update drops that they are done with it. They are definitely doing as much work as we would have with a bigger update, quote unquote, but bigger updates just have more stuff and stuff that we can see, but there is definitely a lot more behind that as well. So they are improving the game with every update. That's why it usually says major bug fixes and stuff like that, because they are adding new code and new stuff that in the future will help create a better and smoother game for everyone. So they are definitely still working on the game, still motivated. They didn't stop listening to us, they just want to have everything perfect, which is understandable. level and will be a lot better in the long run for the game as well. So I did want to have that explained. I hope this helps you understand a little bit more why some updates seem so small but aren't actually small. That was it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button and please subscribe.